Alright, what is going on YouTube? Welcome to Viper versus Lucifron, the quarterfinals of the $20,000 SteelSeries Prime Cup. In case you've seen some sets from this tournament, basically all quarterfinals were overlapping with each other, and I casted a different one, so I decided to cast these from recorded games before the recorded games get deleted in the cloud. So we will be using recorded games for this one. As you see on the screen, we have 4 civilizations picked for each player, and we do have a best of 3 over here. The home map for the Viper is Lipany, and the home map for Lucifron is Border Bay, and the first game will be on Arabia. With that being said, let's jump into game number 1. Hello, wake up, thank you. So, on the right side, we do have a Mr. Viper playing as the Abbasid Dynasty in blue, and on the left, we do have Lucifron playing as the Rus in red. Now, going for the Abbasid Dynasty is a somewhat surprising choice over here, although we have seen some players attempting to do this, but I've never seen the Abbasids being successful against a Rus Fast Castle Cav Archer style play. In theory, it could work because you do have options with the Camel Archers, you do have a nice Feudal Age timing push. I just haven't seen a single one of these work out so far. So we'll see what Viper has on his mind. His map doesn't really look great, his gold mine is quite exposed on the front, his wood lines are mostly alright, and the front of his base is nicely sheltered, but the berries are quite exposed. Back of the base, not amazing either, not a lot of backup resources. Speaking of backup gold, there is going to be one over here in the north, so Viper's base is not spectacular by any means. Now, looking at the Viper, he's got one scout, currently collecting a lot of sheep, also triggered one wolf, but that's basically it. He's got another scout as well, taking down some hunt on the right side. So when you're fighting as the Rus with a civilization like the Abbasids, you usually pop out a scout right at the beginning, because otherwise you will just surrender too much hunt to your opponent. It looks like Viper will be able to take down 2 of his own huntable patches, so that's a nice start for him. Meanwhile, on the other side, for Lucifron, he's just now starting to collect the hunt bounties, so he's only at 45, not necessarily an amazing start for him, but he can still make up for it if he finds a couple of wolves. He is triggering one on the right side, and there is also a patch of huntables he could take down. He also has one wolf trailing him on the left side. So, in this matchup, it's usually a race towards the wolves, because you will get most of the huntables for yourself with the Rus, unless your opponent is going very aggressive on there. But the key question is how many wolves you can get, because the wolves are 25 gold each for the bounty. So these are the real gold source, and it looks like it's actually a very good start here for Lucifron. Look at that, that is 3 wolves trailing him on this side, that's 75 gold. And this scout is not being trailed by any. There is also a scout that I think just brought in a wolf. He's at 115 bounty right now. Meanwhile, on the other side, Viper is just now building the House of Wisdom. He's already on gold, so nothing special right now for him, just a fast feudal approach. He's likely going to age up with the economy wing, if I would have to predict. Whereas on the other side, we do have the Golden Gate already coming out. Wolves will be taken down by the town center. So at this point, it looks like Lucifron will be at like 210 bounty, which is not spectacular. You want to get to that level 2 bounty at minimum. There is 2 more sheep close to the town center, so that attributes for 10 bounty. But you still need at least 1 more wolf to make this happen. Look at all that micro going on here. Lucifron actually having the advantage in that scout war, so Viper will have to disengage. Since both scouts just leave each other alone, both of those will be able to heal up. We also have that little scout micro down south over here, and it looks like Viper is able to yoink some of the huntables of his opponent. That's pretty annoying for Lucifron, because you see that there is 1 more deer here that could have been killed by him, and that would have been the 250 bounty he needs. So he was just a little too late to the party, and Viper's got 1 scout that's fairly high HP, whereas Lucifron's got 2 that are heavily damaged. And as things stand, it looks like they will just trade scouts over here. So we will have 1 scout remaining here on this side for Lucifron. He's got another one over here, whereas for Viper he did lose that extra scout he made before. He's aging up with the economy wing, whereas on the other side, Feudal Age is just now finished for Lucifron with the Golden Gate. Looking at Lucifron, he's gonna have to sell 100 resources to get professional scouts, but here it goes. It will be followed by scouts, pretty standard Rus stuff over here. The question is, what is Viper up to? He is just about to reach Feudal Age, still 30 seconds to go. After that, he's likely grabbing the fresh foodstuffs upgrade, because if you look at his resources, he is gonna have the gold he needs for that. And it looks like he's going for stone. Now this could be a couple of things. This could be a 2 town center boom, and that's a little risky against the Rus, but it could work. unless your opponent is able to add siege early. We'll talk about that a little later. Alternative is that he's gonna go for a sort of a stone wall tower style defense. We have seen attempts to do that. The idea is that the stone wall towers do have springolds on them that are the old springolds, so they do have a lot of base damage. So you could just drop a small section of a stone wall, drop a tower on it, and it's gonna have crazy firepower. I haven't seen that one work out that well so far, but I've seen an attempt in which it was used with English Tower Rush. So it was longbows and those stone wall towers. I don't think it was able to defeat the Rus, but the attempt was quite decent, so I can see potential in there. We'll have to see what Viper is up to. He's pretty heavy on the food department, so I'm suspecting second town center for the time being. Notably, I think we had Doubt going for that 2 town center Abbasid boom on Arabia as well. He did that against Mongols, if I'm not mistaken, in the round of 512th against Eric, but he ended up losing out there. So that didn't really work out. Obviously, the Mongols are a better aggressive civilization in Feudal Age than the Rus. Rus will just play fast castle. So let's talk about that fast castle over here, as we do have the carcasses already being brought in. Lucifron is starting off with the opponent's hunt as usual. So here's the deal. If you are seeing that your opponent is going for a 2 town center play against your Rus fast castle, you're not going for cav archers, you're going for men-at-arms into siege weapons. Because you will still have the advantage in there. The Abbasids won't really have a great answer to men-at-arms in Feudal Age. And you just go men-at-arms rams, and the Viper is going to struggle against that with the Abbasids. This town center is actually a good idea, because once it goes up, the villagers garrisoning would prevent the scouts from stealing this hunt. The problem here is that most of that hunt has already been taken, so by the time this town center finishes, there is going to be basically nothing to protect over here. Looks like we're gonna have Lucifron bring in some more hunt on this side as well, so he has to be very, very happy with the way he managed to start this game. And you see, he's going to swoop up most of that hunt, goes for the one that's furthest away just to make sure he can steal it before the town center goes up. Oh, that's so clever! That's so clever by Lucifron. He's just taking it outside the range of the town center so he can take it back home later, just to make sure that he takes all of that before the town center goes up. Such a small detail, yet so nice. And you see, he actually dropped it because he was like, okay, I might as well just escape with my scout. He's actually not taking the huntables back, and it looks like now Viper is going to yoink that scout. Doesn't really matter because Lucifron still has scouts take all that hunt, and I'm fairly certain that Lucifron will be able to secure all 3 of those carcasses. Currently already sitting at 700 food. So he's gonna start selling soon. He's got 3 tickets, and there it goes. He's mostly selling wood, simply because he still needs some food for Castle Age, but he's got the 600 gold he needs. Super clean, fast castle here from him, fueled by all that hunt that he was able to bring in. I think he's pretty much able to secure all the hunt on the map. He took his own patch, he pretty much swooped up the entire patch of Viper, and this one is untouched, this one is being brought in right now. So it very much seems like Lucifron gets every single deer on the map, which is a dream with the Rus. Castle Age on the way. You see that he's rushing up that Abbey of the Trinity as fast as possible, so he's going to start securing the relics. You can see that he's not even thinking about early aggression in Castle Age at this point. He's not making any production buildings. In the earlier iterations of this Rus fast castle, we have seen archer ranges or barracks being dropped as you go up to Castle Age, because the idea was that you want to start applying pressure early. But nowadays, it's all about rushing out the Abbey of the Trinity as fast as possible, because the real difference maker is that first 2 warrior monks, because those are gonna be able to pick up the relics, giving you a nice eco advantage, start securing the sacred sites. You can delay your push a tiny bit, and it looks like it's going to be an archer range play here. I don't like that. You don't want to play cav archers against double TCs, because you see that Viper is not far away from Castle Age either, and he's gonna have a 2 town center boom. Now, having 5 relics under your control plus 1 or 2 sacred sites will be better than a 2 town center boom for a long time. The problem that Lucifron could be facing here is that the cav archers can't really do damage to Viper's eco. The gold mine is a little exposed, but if Viper makes a tower here, that could help a lot. The wood lines are rather safe, Viper's gonna roll off the north. So this is one of those scenarios, as I said, where going for a barracks and men-at-arms could make a lot more sense, because you could go for a man-at-arms push right now and push Viper. Now, obviously, Viper could react with his own men-at-arms as well, and he could make springolds on the battlefield to defend against the rams with. So there's options there for Viper as well to hold that, but I just feel like the horse archers will do very minimal damage here to Viper's economy, especially if Viper goes for all those walls, which appears to be the case. If he walls this off, he would also wall out 2 relics, which is a very nice thing. Notice how Viper is walling. This is a bigger investment compared to just making a wall over here, here, and here. However, if that wall goes up, that pretty much prevents Lucifron from taking that relic. Lucifron would still have 3 relics to work with, so he doesn't have to be disappointed. But obviously, being able to deny 2 relics from the Roost player is already an accomplishment here for Viper. Viper on the way to Castle H is going up to the Culture Ring, as he has managed to take the berries as well, has a nice defensive tower over there. Currently, 32 villagers for Lucifron, 43 for Viper. So Viper's resource income should be mostly better right now, until the relics arrive. Food income is better for Lucifron, but he's got tons of hunt. In fact, he's got so much hunt that I could justify survival techniques for him. Because with all this hunt around, he would be on that for a long, long time. Survival techniques is not particularly expensive, and when you have this much hunt to work with, it's something that you can totally justify. Now, one way for Lucifron to do damage here on these berries could be to pull a couple more scouts and use the scouts as the torch unit to burn down the building. Viper pretty much fortified his base over here on the right side. These walls will be difficult to defend though against the scouts with the torches and the horse archers, so Viper might have trouble there. Lucifron runs into the tower fire, a little slow to react, but he won't lose that scout, I do believe. Meanwhile, we got some more horse archers on the way, and you see many scouts are popping out here. So Lucifron is doing what he has to. He has to go for a lot of scouts here to burn through the walls. But now, I feel like Viper, if he just goes for either mass foot archers or even camel archers, that could work. Now, camel archers are horribly expensive, and that's the main problem that Viper is facing here. So this is why I think mass foot archer actually works better. Foot archers trade quite nicely and cost effectively against horse archers, and they are much cheaper than camel archers. You see 30 food only as opposed to 180 for a single camel archer. So yeah, for Viper, mass food archer actually works a lot better over here. And this is one of the other reasons why I don't really like the horse archer play against this double TC build. If you look at the resource income per minute, that's still slightly in the favor of Viper overall, but the food income, of course, is helping Lucifron. Archer's already moving out. Viper trying to take some shots on those horse archers. Obviously, the scouts will absorb some damage, but Viper is smart. He knows exactly that he needs to snipe those horse archers. Meanwhile, we do have Lucifron going out to take the sacred sites, though I do like that a lot, and I would love to see him moving in and taking that relic as well, because it's like, might as well take it while you still can, and he's coming in there. I love that. He's got quite a few warrior monks on the battlefield, so he could also boost his army. You see, when that warrior monk arrives, we will have some combat buffs coming in here for those horse archers. Hold on, warrior monk. It's not in yet. It's not in yet. Monk. Now he's in. Now he's in. Here comes the fight. Not necessarily the best ever. Spearman will be focused down nicely. Archers focusing down the horse archers over here. You look at how Viper is focusing down the CA. That's exactly what he has to do. The warrior monk is still alive, and you see the Saint's Blessing over here is activated. Looks like this relic was not taken, but now we have a couple of horse archers for Lucifron inside Viper's economy. That's going to be one dead villager out there. I really like how, while Lucifron is sort of distracting Viper over here, forcing Viper to fight, he's actually using his map control a lot. So he's taking the sacred sites. He's actually flooding a lot of scouts and horse archers over here. Now, I still believe he needs something against those veteran archers. That could just be a couple of knights, really. It looks like it's just triple range, or actually 4 range cav archers. The walls have been rebuilt, so reinforcements will be cut off here from Lucifron, and it is very possible that his scouts might all get cleaned up here. So he didn't take the relic while he could. Now, Viper wasn't paying attention. That's going to be quite a lot of dead villagers on that gold mine, at least 3 or 4. And the horse archers could actually dive in on the wood line, I believe, and that could also be a couple dead villagers. Sacred Site victory. Countdown triggered by Lucifron at 13:30, so Viper's got 10 minutes from now on to take this. Lucifron behind this one is sitting on 4 relics. He's taking this one away right now. So now Lucifron could try to play a little defensive. We got Mangonels coming in here for Viper. He's building that with his infantry, and I think Lucifron will once again try to dive in on that gold mine. Viper's got a save gold at the back that he could take, but so far his only source of gold is this one, so that could be a little concerning. His unit composition, Spearman Archers, don't cost a lot of gold, but obviously upgrades do, and the siege weapons do. Imagine that Lucifron has like 5 knights over here. These would just disintegrate all those archers. Even though there is some spears on the field, it's not a ton of spears right now, so Lucifron could really benefit from some knights But looks like he's just very, very stubborn going for the horse archers. This is something I've seen a lot of Rus players do nowadays. They feel so confident with the power of the cav archers that they don't use any auxiliary units, but you have to keep in mind that mass foot archers will slowly grind down your horse arch numbers, and that's exactly what we are seeing over here. Viper is pushing out of his own base. Currently 64 economy for Viper, 44 for Lucifron, so there's a 20 villager deficit. But the overall economies are rather close, I would say, especially the gold income is favoring Lucifron quite a bit. Cav archers are still in good numbers, and Lucifron should now start thinking about grabbing the Boyar's Fortitude upgrade, because that's something that would help a ton. Viper going to secure that sacred site, although it remains to be seen if he actually does that. We got the warrior monks out here, and now with the Saint's Blessing there is indeed a combat boost as well, so Viper will be forced back. Horse archers are still extremely powerful, so even with mass foot archers it's difficult to stop them. But Lucifron has to be careful not to throw away a lot of cav archers, because you see that his numbers aren't impressive right now. And Viper was trading quite cost efficiently. Those archers that he's losing are minimal cost, whereas the horse archers are a lot more expensive on the food department. Looking at the current resources, Lucifron actually has the gold for Boyar's Fortitude, and that's an upgrade that he should grab ASAP. He actually has it now, so should be 105 HP. That's probably the most important upgrade here for those horse archers, and once you have a lot of relics, you can actually afford that quite easily, because it's mostly a gold heavy upgrade. Here comes a Mangonel, gets a decent shot, but with the help of the horse archers and the warrior monks, scouts also in the party, that Mangonel is gonna go down. Some men-at-arms on the field for Viper as well, but those won't perform that well against the horse archers. Horse archers now decimating all those archers. We get some spearmen joining the party though, so Lucifron still has to be careful not to get taken down by those. But currently these army numbers are heavily in his favor. Viper is only down to 5 army. Lucifron currently sitting at 21. He's got 3 sacred sites under his control, and now he's going for a second town center. That is actually a good decision for him, because this way he can make sure that he's not falling behind a lot in terms of villager count. He's also going for a market right now to try and balance his economy. He's floating a lot of gold. I think he just used the golden gate instead. That's actually something that works, but obviously you're limited by the tickets. What I would love to see from him is taking down these boars with the cav archers, because that would give him a ton of gold. About 6 minutes remaining until Viper is defeated on the sacred site conditions, so you gotta start being careful here if you're Viper and think about how you're gonna push out of your base. Looks like we're seeing a lot of men-at-arms hitting the field. Some Springalds also joining the fun, but obviously Springalds don't perform that amazing against horse archers anymore. They still pack a decent punch. It's still 30 damage per projectile, but it is much weaker than what it used to be. Warrior monks healing up all the horse archers right now while outside of combat. That's a nice low move here from Lucifron. Looking at his upgrades, he's got +2 attack, and he's just now grabbing the defense upgrades. Whereas on the Viper's side, he's setting up the Springalds right now. I love the staggered formation here for Lucifron. This way he won't accidentally eat a big Mangonel shot in his face, and it looks like Viper is just going for what appears to be an infantry flood. I see archers, spearmen coming out mostly. So here the idea for Viper is probably that you will always have to retreat against the spearmen, otherwise once the spearmen close distance they will just kill all of your cav archers. So you gotta be careful when you're microing against this one. That's a big flood of infantry here from Viper. And the nice thing about this army composition here for Viper is that it's very, very cheap. Only spearmen and archers, and now Viper is slowly pushing out. Some men-at-arms would work wonders here for Lucifron, I do believe, because those would be a very, very good meat shield in front of his cav archers. Knights, not so much anymore, because you got a lot of spearmen on the field. Lucifron is still trying to keep the sacred sites under his control. Men-at-arms will be sniped down over here. 2 Springolds versus 1. The Springold of Lucifron is taking down the ones from Viper, though. Viper didn't actually shoot back up until now, so it's possible Viper's gonna lose his own Springolds, and he's also gonna lose most of the spearmen. Horse archers might actually commit against all those archers over there as well. The clock is still ticking for Viper. We only have about 5 minutes remaining, and things are looking worse and worse for Viper. If you look at Lucifron's stone count, he's got 320. And you could start thinking about making a keep here in the middle, because that would be a very, very nice forward position. This is definitely the angle that Viper wants to push, so a keep here could help a ton for Lucifron. He's only at 400 stone, but he could use the Golden Gate to buy yourself some stone. because you need that keep up very soon if you want to keep Viper away from here. Viper, behind this one, still has a very, very powerful economy villager-wise, 86. Has a well-established farming eco as well, but his army numbers, actually it's 33. Not that bad. That's not a bad army count. Springgold's exchanging shots, and Lucifron is going to lose his own. 560 on the stone department. He's floating a ton of resources, by the way, compared to Viper. You see, Viper is using every single bit of resources he was able to get. Multiple Springgolds setting up, so looks like Viper still thinks that the Springgolds can help a lot here. I'm not saying it's impossible, because as I said, they do have a reasonable base attack and they do have a high range, but they are not as good as they used to be. One thing that could help you for Lucifron is a lot of scouts, because he could jump on the Springgolds. Those would be very, very cheap, and Viper's Springgolds are rather expensive for Castle Age combat. We got the Horse Archers taking the fight, a nice move to snipe down the Spearman, but the Springgolds are still set up, and they have been just killing those Horse Archers for a long, long time. Most of the spears are now gone. Springgold setting up for Lucifron. That is going to be one that Springgold from Viper. Viper was focusing the Horse Archers with his own Springgolds for a long time, and the Springgolds from him were taken down. Obviously, the population efficiency is much, much better for these Horse Archers, and that is going to be most of the army from Viper cleaned up. Viper is actually crawling up with Springgold towers. That's actually a smart idea. The Springgold towers do a lot against those Horse Archers. Can't show you because villagers are garrisoned inside, but Springgold towers actually work really well here, so that's a very good move from Viper. He's taking quite underwhelming fights right now, but at this point it's all about flooding that infantry out and just making sure you can get those towers up, because that countdown is getting dangerously close to game over. For some time in this game, there were enemy units inside that circle, and when it's happening, the countdown isn't going on, so it's a little more than 23:30, probably around 24:30. But Viper is running short on time. It's like 3 minutes remaining at maximum. Currently 26 army for Lucifron. Viper is only at 18, and Viper's got a way less population efficient army here, so even numbers actually favor Lucifron a lot, because the Cav Archers individually are much stronger than the Archers or Spearmen. Here's the keep, and I feel like if that keep goes up, Viper's gonna have a very, very difficult time fighting this one. Lucifron knows that exactly, and he's gonna dive in with these scouts. Scouts getting some nice torch hits on those Springgolds. Castle coming up here for Lucifron. That castle could be a game winner here for him. Viper now crawling up with those Springgold towers. You see that these Springgolds that are in these towers, they are still the old Springgolds. 61 damage, also 9 range. So these are very effective at dealing with Horse Archers. You need a lot of them, but they basically two-shot Horse Archers. So it's actually one of the best things that you can do against Horse Archers at this point, especially if your base is well fortified. Viper's got an overchop on the right side though. So if Lucifron sent in 3 Horse Archers here, he could actually get quite a lot. Viper neutralized the Sacred Site, I'm just realizing. Oh, that's a big thing, because Lucifron was counting on winning on Sacred Site conditions, I believe. He was throwing away a lot of Cav Archers, just hoping to keep Viper away from those Sacred Sites, and that's no longer the case. So the Sacred Site countdown is now broken, so Lucifron is actually going to have to play a standard-ish game. Looking at the resource income per minute, that is rather even, I would say. Viper has about a 17 villagers lead, but his opponent obviously sitting on 4 relics plus 2 sacred sites, so Lucifron still has probably the better economy. And looks like Lucifron will probably try to take the sacred site once again, but that's going to be difficult because that tower is going to be painful to take down for him. Looking at Lucifron though, he's going into Imperial, and he's going up with the high armory, building it close to the front line so he will be able to reinforce the battlefield with siege. Viper is moving towards the sacred site down south. He knows exactly that even though the sacred site countdown towards victory is not going on right now, you have to take the other sacred site as well because it's constantly trickling in gold for Lucifron. "11 villagers building that high armory. We'll have siege workshops close to it very, very soon. And it seems like Lucifron has found Viper's forces. Now, it's only archers and spearmen, so really, men-at-arms would work wonders here for Lucifron. I'm actually somewhat puzzled why he's going for full CA. Now, once we get to Imperial Age, the Rus Cav Archers actually get a pretty decent power spike. You can get the elite upgrade, but the bigger thing is the extra 2 range on them, because that's gonna make their range be 6.5 as compared to 5 range of archers, so they actually outrange standard foot archers. If you have some sort of good meat shield, Streltsy can also work because they do have insane firepower, but they do die quite easily to archers, so you need something that absorbs damage from the archers. Viper is crawling up towards the base of Lucifron. The Sacred Site down south has also been neutralized. Any mangonels? Anything coming out here? Looks like it's Elite Horse Archer right now. No upgrades on the Blacksmith just yet. It looks like Lucifron will just wait and try to force a decisive fight here. It's actually a little sloppy because that lumberjacking operation was completely forgotten about. It seems like he completely forgot he's got villagers over here, and that's gonna be 15-20 easy villager kills here for Viper. Now, this being said, Lucifron is still in Imperial Age. Viper piling up the food he needs for Imp. Lucifron almost finished with the Elite upgrade. He already has Mounted Precision coming in somewhere as well. Oh yeah, it's coming in right now. Elite Horse Archers might actually be a good unit here to fight this one, but it's not going to be super cost-effective against that many Springolds, Spears, and Archers. So you need something like a Mangonel to get a good hit on, but even then it's going to be difficult because there is Springolds to snipe it. So really, the magical unit here for Lucifron would be just a couple of men-at-arms, really. 10 or so would work wonders. Horse Archers trying to take the best possible fight, but you see that the moment they spawn, they get picked apart by the Archers. And here it's all about cost efficiency. Lucifron, I think he's just a little too stubborn going for the Horse Archers. And that's one of the things that is so weird with this build. Horse Archers are extremely powerful in the current meta, but that doesn't mean that there is no answers to them. It's just the fact that, like, the way that you should use Rus is that, okay, my opponent is afraid of Cav Archers, I have a very powerful unit. So he's forced to make this type of reaction, which is Archer Spears. And now, I have the advantage knowing that this is what he's gonna do, and I know that he has to sort of go for Archer Spearman composition against my Horse Archers, so I can just switch to Man-at-Arms myself. Horse Archers are powerful, but it's not like they are the only unit you can make, and you sort of still have to make reactions to your opponent's army. Looks like the army gets cleaned up though, villagers being pulled to take down the Springolds, pretty common thing to see. Villagers do have high torch damage, and they're sort of expendable. 5 or so villagers lost for the price of 10 Springolds is completely acceptable. So in the end, Lucifron cleans this up, but you see that he's down to like 15 Horse Archers. He started with like 25, 30, so a lot of losses were taken here, and he had the whole age advantage. Speaking of ages, Viper is going up as well. He's going up in the military wing, so now he can start adding camos, potentially. With the camo support technology, he will get 1 defense for his infantry, including the spearmen and the archers. And just a couple of camel archers would help so much buffing that army. Looks like it's gonna be a ram push against that keep in the middle. The keep doesn't have Springgold emplacement or boiling oil. I think the biggest problem right now for Lucifron is that his Imperial Age advantage is just gone. He had that massive advantage, but by the time he cleaned up Viper's army, it was just a little too late. 116 villagers for Viper, only 88 for Lucifron. Army numbers also in the favor of Viper. Obviously, Lucifron has the relics working for him, but in exchange, his wood income was just terrible. And it got raided pretty heavily. Speaking of raiding, Viper sends a couple of archers to the north, try and get some raiding damage done. That should be cleaned up. Lucifron isn't really operating with a lot of walls, and that could soon punish him. Because you see that Viper is trickling in some army to raid all this farming eco here. This is wide open for raiding, so you want to have some sort of protection around this area. Otherwise, your entire food economy is going to be exposed. As I'm saying that, it looks like Lucifron is going to start walling off the north. That's exactly what he should do here. He needs to have some sort of protection for that food eco. Taking the Sacred Side down south, as Viper is assembling a force with rams. Probably Elite Archer and Elite Spearman are coming in. Indeed, Elite Archer is already on the way. And Elite Spearman as well. No camo support, instead it's gonna be the boot camp upgrade. This is an upgrade that we don't talk a lot about, simply because Abbasids going into Imperial is not something that you see very, very frequently, especially when they use infantry. Usually when you see Abbasids going into Imperial, it's maps that are like hybrid. So, for example, Nagari. So, you don't necessarily see the Abbasids going very deep into Imperial Age on open maps like Arabia a lot. So this is an upgrade that we don't see very often. This upgrade gives 15% extra health for your infantry. It's a very, very good upgrade. for your spears and archers. And now here comes the push. Lucifron has a decent amount of archers, and it looks like the keep here is gonna go up. Viper tried to deny that, but that was not a possibility. The jackpot for Lucifron would be to raid, by the way. Viper's economy is more than raidable here. You see, it's wide open now. It's not like it was 10-15 minutes ago where Viper was walled. Obviously, Viper's direct push here is gonna be scary. This is very, very difficult to deal with, and you would need a lot of men-at-arms. The men-at-arms is the unit that you need to use against this one. Instead, here come the scouts. They'll try to burn down the rams. Horse archers join the party, but I don't think that horse archers will work here. I don't think that they will. You see, they will have to constantly retreat because the spearmen are rushing towards them. The key behind this one is getting taken down. Boiling oil is late here. By the time it finishes, the spearmen should be able to take down the building, and this might be a decisive victory here for Viper. And this might be game over here as well for Lucifron. Would be a massive loss, because you see, Viper is using the archers and spearmen the way they should be used. That's the weakness of this cav archer build order, mass foot archers. Not necessarily because the foot archers are much stronger than the cav archers, it's the cost efficiency of this. And you see, it's much more difficult to replenish those horse archers than it is to replenish those archers. As now the rams start rolling towards Lucifron's base. How is he going to react to this one now? Horse archers won't hold this one for a long time, you see. They constantly have to retreat because of the spearman's danger, and then the moment they start retreating, the archers just dive in, pick off a few, keep coming in here, but you see already starting town center is being taken down, food eco is getting ravaged, so now it's just next to impossible. Now there is a mangonel here for Lucifron. Viper splits away nicely from that mangonel, nice reaction from him. He might lose his archers here to the next mangonel shot, but he's just cleaning up all the horse archers, even the castle gets denied, so Lucifron is falling down to 95 population, Viper at a steady 190. Even if he loses all these archers, he's got a pretty decent resource bank to replenish them, and as I said, when the spearmen close the distance, they can just smash all those horse archers in the face. I think they do have the phalanx upgrade, so they can actually get those hits in from a little further away as well. Finally, Lucifron cleans up the spearmen, but just look at what's happening at the front of his base. Rams are just devastating everything here. The farming eco is gone. I don't think that Lucifron has the chance to stop Viper's momentum here anymore. Viper's just got insane momentum. Lucifron is struggling with population mightily. He's at 93. Viper is steady 190 for the last few minutes. And replenishing those horse archers, as I said, are just much more difficult than replenishing those foot archers. Horse archers now low in numbers, only about 15 of them left on the battlefield. Rams keep rolling. The high armor was sort of left alone. This is something that the Viper could have destroyed with a ram, because that's one of the landmarks you have to destroy. The other three are over here, starting TC, Golden Gate, Abbey of the Trinity. But Lucifron is probably not going to have to worry about those landmarks because Viper won't really care. Viper will just steamroll his production buildings and slowly grind him down. Lucifron down to 80 population. Viper firmly in control of this game, and just look at that flood of units throughout the map. It's full trash unit composition, spearmen, archers, and he's winning with that. Mainly because, as I said, the cost efficiency of those archers and the spearmen are just spectacular over here, and with that, Viper takes game number 1 over here. Very well played by him, and some interesting decisions here from Lucifron, I would say. So he needed to do one of the two things that he did not do. A, he needed to raid Viper a little bit more aggressively. You could see that a lot of villagers for Viper in the second half of the game were exposed, and Viper had limited mobility. Obviously, that had to be done before Viper started pushing the castle in the middle, because after that it was just a desperate defense. But if you start dispatching a couple of cav archers to raid, that could have been useful. At the beginning of the game, Viper's walls were very good, and that's exactly how you want to play against horse archers. You just want to limit their raiding option, because it's not their, or it's not necessarily their straight up combat power, it's their combination of mobility, combat power. And with that mobility, they could raid a lot. They weren't able to raid Viper at all. Lucifron was just very, very resilient, going for the horse archers the entire game. Not a single man-at-arms popped out. Anytime in this game, 10-15 man-at-arms would have worked wonders, I do believe. Or, as I said, alternatively, he could have tried being a little bit more proactive with the raids, especially in the second half of the game, because that would have forced Viper to make a move to defend, and that would have bought a little bit more time for Lucifron to fortify those sacred sites. Alright, let's cross out civilizations. Abbasids are a win for Viper, and Rus is a loss for Lucifron. And now we're going into game number 2. Unfortunately, I can't show you the statistics. Actually, I can. Wait a minute. So, in recorded games, the statistics don't show up at the end of the match. But if I open it up here, yeah, this should be possible. So, here it is. Here are the stats. I'm looking at the timeline over here. Lucifron, you see he had the lower villager count for the majority of the game, but that's usual with the Rus. You play 1 TC, you're compensating with the relics and the sacred sites. But military counts, Viper, for whatever reason, he's red over here. I'm not exactly sure why the game just flipped colors, but it's the same game, so trust me with that one. Obviously, the population efficiency was on Lucifron's side, but this is what I was talking about. That Lucifron's Imperial Age didn't do anything for him simply because Viper's mass was a lot bigger, and by the time Lucifron cleaned it up with Horse Archers, he lost a lot of units, and Viper was just able to catch up with Imp timing. Overall, KD slightly in the favor of Lucifron, but the thing is that the units that he lost were much more expensive than Viper's ones. In the end, economies heavily in the favor of Viper actually. 8,000 more wood, 7,000 more food. Gold was actually in the favor of Viper as well, so it looks like those relics weren't able to compensate for the villager deficit of Lucifron. Alright, let's jump into game number 2 over here. We're going to the home map of Lucifron over here, which is Boulder Bay. Now, looking at Boulder Bay, Viper's got French available, Lucifron also's got French, so I would expect a French mirror, maybe Rus from Viper is an option. And there is our surprise, ladies and gentlemen. It is going to be Viper playing as the French in blue. That's no surprise. Left side, English for Lucifron in red. Now, the English do have a technology that makes their ships cheaper, but that's not a technology that's very, very valuable in Feudal Age. It's a great technology once you're in post-Imperial and we're talking about 30 ships versus 30, and you're just pumping out ships all day, all night. But when you only pump out 1 or 2 ships in the beginning of the game, that has limited effect. Whereas on the other side, we still have very, very powerful hulks. So I actually think that Viper's got the civilization advantage over here. Lucifron may have not felt confident playing with French mirrors here, because he might just think, okay, Viper is a little more skilled than I am mechanically, and I don't want to play French mirrors against him, because if you play French mirrors, it's all about that micro out there, and Viper would probably win that. So maybe Lucifron wanted to surprise his opponent. If he goes up with the Council Hall, this could be an interesting game. Because one thing that Lucifron could do is go up with the Council Hall, make a couple of longbows and try to harass Viper's wood or gold economy, and try to swing the water battle in his favor. Because of that, I think Viper needs to go for the School of Cavalry. Normally, when you go up with the French to Feudal Age on a map like Boulder Bay, you're using the Chamber of Commerce because you want to sell your excess food to gold. But in this case, I think you could justify going for the School of Cavalry simply because you have to potentially neutralize a longbowman threat. But worst case scenario, if Lucifron is not going for longbowman at all, you can still send 1 or 2 knights forward and harass your opponent. Looking at the gold mines, this gold mine is quite exposed over here for Lucifron on the left, and the one on the right side is also quite heavily exposed. Not great gold mines for him. Viper's gold here is at the back, but it's kind of far away from the town center, so both players could be in the danger of getting their gold mines harassed. Probably the better gold mine belongs to Viper though, or at least at the start. His second gold mine is much worse, it's very much on the front. Love how Viper is using this wood line at the back, that's going to be rather safe. Whereas we have a front wood line over here for Lucifron, not as good as the one from Viper. Docks already up. We do have 2 fishing ships out for Lucifron. Viper is about 1/3 of a fishing ship ahead, and Viper is using 2 shore fishing villagers. It's actually a very nice move for multiple reasons. A, the villagers gather quite fast from shorefish, so you're getting a nice extra food income at the beginning. B, and that's the bigger thing, a scout can harass and kill 1 villager out here. It can't kill 2, and you see, the moment Lucifron sees the 2 villagers, he turns back. Compare that to the villager of Lucifron. If Viper comes in with a scout here, this villager will have to run away. So, this is why you prefer to send out 2 villagers for that dock. You're getting some extra food from it because of the shore fishing, and it gives you a lot of safety, makes sure that you don't have to run away because of the opponent's scout. Looks like Lucifron is kind of low on food right now. Scout now coming in to try and harass the villagers, and Viper is just gonna react by killing 2 sheep. Oh my goodness, that was such a good move from Viper. He was like, okay, you're harassing my villas, I'm just gonna yoink the sheep from the back of your scout. It's -2 sheep for Lucifron. Not the end of the world, but it's definitely frustrating. Looking at Viper, he is much closer to field age than his opponent is, and it's starting to be a little concerning for Lucifron, because if Viper beats him to field age here, the first 2 or 3 Hawks will just smash him on water. One of the most unspoken about things with the Hawks is that they have a lot of building attack damage. So every other civilization that uses galleys or junks, whatever, to fight in Feudal Age, they don't have a chance to destroy docks easily because it takes a lot of arrows to destroy it. Compare that to Hawks, Hawks do a lot of damage to docks, so once you have a water advantage, you can capitalize on that and destroy the opponent's docks quite easily. Speaking of destroying stuff, it looks like Lucifron wanted to go either forward close to Viper's base or potentially just wall himself off around this area. But that is going to be a villager found by Viper. Viper won't be able to kill the villager, but he's going to discourage any kind of incursion to this side of the map. Viper is actually going up to the Chamber of Commerce, so he's gonna be like, okay, I feel safe, I don't need a single knight here, I'm just gonna sell my food. Obviously, that's gonna give him a nice advantage on water, and Council Hall going up for Lucifron. I would love to see Viper keeping that scout in that Stealth Forest. That would be such a valuable piece of information for him. Oh, looks like Lucifron is trying to get that second dock up, but he just can't. He just can't get that dock up because Viper is always here with that scout. That must be tilting like crazy. This is match point. This is only a best of 3, so if Lucifron loses this, then Viper moves on into the semi-finals. Lucifron getting forced back, and here's the problem. If you're trying to go for this technology, the shipwrights, as you see, reduces the cost of ships by 10%, you need a lot of docks. Because the only way that you're really capitalizing on it is if you're making a lot of ships. So, usually when you do shipwrights, you go for that early 3rd dock even. But, you see, right now it's just the 2nd dock halfway done. Lucifron actually sends out 2 villagers now just to make sure that the dock goes up. The dock is gonna go up. Viper won't be able to stop this one, but he's gonna do his best to do this animation cancelling, attacking. And now it's 2 docks up. Other side, we do have a bit of a harassment done by Lucifron though, but Viper is already pumping out the Hawks. The other dock is not doing anything, so it's possible it's gonna be additional sales, or it's possible it's just waiting for the gold to pile up for a Hawk. Let's see. He could just grab additional sales. I could understand that, because the sooner he gets to this side of the map, the higher his chances are to just kill a couple of fishing ships before his opponent has a navy out. Viper's gonna start rolling himself up, so he knows exactly that longbows could come out any moment, and there are some longbows on the way. I'm fairly certain that he scouted the Council Hall, and he might have even seen the longbows. But even if you don't see them, you should expect longbows here. Not a lot, but 2 or 3 to try and harass you, and that's the reason why Viper is rolling up. He'll have to... Actually, this is locked in here. So, I think Viper is safe from this side. He just needs to wall this one off. Looking at the water, here comes the first Hawk out here. We got 1 galley for Lucifron, but galleys won't perform well against Hawks. Hawks are direct counters to galleys. Unless you have a lot of galleys in here, that's not gonna work out well. Viper will take some shots on the fishing ships, most of them garrisoning into the dock, and it looks like Lucifron just wants to go and snipe the fish. So, you see that he's trying to avoid confrontation with Viper's navy. So I'm starting to believe that what he's planning is that he doesn't want to fight on water. He just wants to dive in, snipe the fish of Viper, acknowledge the fact that he himself is going to lose water, and pretty much just play land combat here without any kind of fishing. Looks like the galley is moving up. Heavily damaged by the Hawks though. Here comes another Hawk by Viper. And I just feel like this galley strategy isn't really working, because Viper knows exactly that his opponent can't really take a direct fight. So his best bet is to try and sneak the galleys in, trying to snipe the fishing ships. Nice reaction from Viper to jump into docks, and he's probably going to do the same thing on this side. Another Hawk is about to pop out. Still no additional sales for Viper, so his navy is very, very clumsy and slow. But he's got the firepower advantage, and he's going to sink that 1 galley out here, if I'm not mistaken. Interesting decision from Lucifron to go for the English over here. The only thing I can imagine is that he didn't want to fight a mirror against Viper. But in retrospective, I don't think it's really gonna work. He's coming out with longbows. So the plan is rather clear. He wants to sort of snipe the opponent's fishing eco. He knows exactly he's going to lose his own. He wants to snipe Viper's fish so no one has fishing eco, and then he moves up with the longbows. But as I said, if Viper went up with the School of Cavalry, he could neutralize this very, very easily with Knights, even if he wasn't fully vowed. But Viper is vowed, so at this point, there's just very limited chance for Lucifron to do any damage. Viper's gonna have enough time to react. Worst case scenario, he makes a stable and makes 3 Royal Knights, and he's gonna be all good. Lucifron moving up with another galley as we speak. Viper coming in to push Lucifron's fish. Lucifron is going to garrison the dock, but you see that the dock is actually taking a lot of damage per projectile. It's 50 damage or so. So it really doesn't take a lot of time for those hawks to destroy docks. That's a big difference between galleys and hawks. Galleys take a lot more time to destroy docks. This is why losing to hawks in Feudal Age can be very, very punishing. Because by the time you would get to Castle Age to get your own hawks or demos out, you would just lose your docks. Against galleys, that's not really a thing. You see, this galley is barely doing any damage to that dock. So part of the reason why the hawks are very powerful on water is because they can destroy docks really fast. So they can just punish you for losing water control early, and Lucifron chopped through. Lucifron actually chopped through over here. You see that that villager is carrying wood. What he did is, instead of breaking through that wall, he chopped through. That's a clever strategy. I don't think Viper was expecting that, and it could be a game-winning move. What a move! Holy potatoes. Viper is now scrambling. Imagine that he has a School of Cavalry. He's got a Knight coming out, but that's gonna be so many dead villagers for him. That's a 500 IQ strategy from Lucifron. I love that. This may have been the plan all along, because he probably knew that Viper is gonna wall. So I'm fairly certain that it was pre-planned that he's just gonna chop through. Viper is going to win water though, and that means that Viper's got an untouched fishing eco, something that shouldn't be overlooked. Although, speaking of untouched, it looks like one fishing ship is being taken down. Tower coming up though, and now I wouldn't be surprised to see a ram push coming in from Lucifron. Indeed, it is coming in. What does Viper have against this one? He's got his own archers and a couple of knights. I don't know if these numbers are sufficient here for Lucifron. Keep in mind that if he fails with this push, Viper's economy is just going to be light years ahead, because he's got double docks for fishing. Basically, Lucifron is off from water. So it's now or never for Lucifron. I do value the idea though, as the forward barracks also could work nicely over here. This is why Viper is already adding archers, because he knows that spearmen will come against his knights. So I really love the idea of going for this choppy to chop through. I'm fairly certain this was pre-planned and not something that was made as a reaction, because if your plan was just that I push with 5-6 longbows, that would be a bad plan. But if you knew exactly that you can chop through there, and, you know, you can technically chop through every forest like that. So if you knew exactly that this is a possibility, then of course your game plan can be that you push with longbows, because your opponent is not expecting a push like that. Here comes the Knight charge. Not a lot of knights for Viper, but the villagers will push away the ram. Archers also diving in. Forward villager would be an extremely important unit to snipe over here for Viper. Lucifron is trying to stay alive in this tournament. The ram is going down, and the longbows are also being decimated. It just takes so much time to reinforce the battlefield, and this might be game over here for Lucifron, because he's losing the majority of his army. The forward villager is gone as well, and Viper has complete control over the water. I value the idea, and it was actually one of the nicest things I've seen in this entire tournament, chopping through that forest to get the longbows in, but it did not work out. Lucifron loses the second one as well, and with that, Viper moves into the semifinals. So, quick summary. I feel like at this point, we can't necessarily draw a big conclusion of about the second game, simply because the civilization advantage was, I think, on Viper's side. I understand what Lucifron was trying to do, but there is a reason why the French are a very powerful water civilization. You can guarantee that water control for yourself against English, pretty much, and that means that Viper just has an insane food eco, so even though Lucifron is pushing him, Lucifron has a hard time affording units because his economy is not powerful. Viper, even though he's later adding units, he is going to have a massive economy, so he can react very fast. He can just drop 2 or 3 production buildings, pop out a couple of knights, and he can stall that push out. Especially with this slow-moving army of the English, it's very difficult to reinforce that battlefield. This could have been more interesting with Abbasids, actually, now that I think about that. because obviously with the Abbasids you wouldn't be able to train longbows on your landmark. However, you would get the siege upgrade for free, so you wouldn't have to invest into a blacksmith and that. And you would have a cheap dock as well, so your economy would be pretty decent. I understand what Lucifron was trying to do, and I firmly believe that he just didn't want to fight a mirror French war against the Viper, but the strategy didn't work out, and with that, Lucifron gets taken down by the Viper. Viper moves into the semifinals.